All right, guys, this is your boy Ligo One Half Enduro. As you saw the intro right there, right this time we're going to be talking about again the ninth generation. So with that said, I want to shout out the person I want to use because again, with respect that I've used their thing, it's going to be Zenkai Goose from Canada, as we're talking about what's going on with the gaming industry as it is right now, and the three things of why Generation 9 has been bad compared to some of these people. Now, for me, Generation 9 has been really great for me. I have over 160 physical games for my Nintendo Switch. I have three Nintendo Switches. My sister has two. We're good. We're great. And also, I have two 3DSs, one that been open, as y'all saw, and another one that I've used and I need to charge it back up to top it back up. PlayStation Vita, mine's broke because it fall off a 2 foot nightstand and you broke. Man, that is such flimsy hardware. Anyway, well, my Nintendo Switch fallen multiple times, kick, drag, dropped, and still works perfectly. But anyway, that. But we're gonna talk about this because in my series about the N generation, this is what we're gonna talk about it right now. So again, Zenkai Goose, take it away.
You see, every console generation is measured by one thing and one thing only.
The
The
games.
games. The 360 had Halo 3, the PlayStation 3 had Uncharted, and the Wii had the Wii Sports Tennis game that broke all of our TVs.
And we're like, oh, jeez.
But unlike the previous generations, the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X technically have way more games than any other console in history. Every week a new indie game releases, there's backwards compatibility for almost any game that you can think of, and if God forbid those older games didn't play well then there's a pretty good chance it's been completely remade. So then why does this generation feel like it has nothing? How does that make any sense? Well, the answer starts getting more clear when we look at every hit this
We don't have exclusives. That's what's the problem. And that's why people, I remember having this argument back in the past with a couple other people on the NCAS and stuff like that. Oh, we need more third party game, third party this, third party that. When you do that, then you water down the experience. You have no competition that because with the exclusive, it pushes the console. One and two also, it does you do not need 50, don't need a 5 year development for most of these games. We don't. Heck, Nintendo just proved did a long development with one game with Breath of the Wild and turned out using the same assets. Or asset flip is a DLC, whatever, I don't care. Still produce a game that's just as good within the same console generation. So yeah, we don't need that stuff. But anyway, I digress. Keep on going, Goose.
generations had so far.
Look at that.
There's
Look at
a
all that.
problem. Do you see it? Hold on. Let me remove every game that was made primarily for the previous generation. Now let's
Exactly.
remove every game that's considered a better playing experience on the PC. And last but not least, let's remove every remake or remaster of an existing game. The
Look at that.
list is dramatically smaller, isn't it? I mean,
Yes, at this point in time of this recording, there's only 11 exclusive to the PlayStation 5. 11. Jeez. Nintendo have over 100. They have 11 on PlayStation 5. Xbox, 4 at the most.
if these games tell us anything, it's that there's something in the water at Insomniac and we gotta protect them at all costs.
Not really.
But this generation's games are actually a bigger problem than you'd think when we compare them to the previous generations.
Buying the right
Previous generations of the nonsense of we are now starting to. It takes a long time to produce these games. It's sucking. It literally is.
specifically the Xbox 360, PS3, and Wii generation. For context, the 7th generation of consoles objectively had worse development tools, worse hardware to build games on, less people with skills to build them, and less documentation to learn from. I mean, these consoles released before social media was even a thing, yet here's the games they released during these same...
Thank God. But here's the thing, though. No, I don't think there were less PC or whatever. They were the vast of the time. So I disagree with what he's saying. But at the point, it was about games. We were still talking about games. Games did not hit mainstream yet. Games was not mainstream at all in this regard. It was still it started to become super mainstream after this generation, yes. But it was still a niche. It was still of, oh, you're a gamer and people look down at you, whatever. At that point, the developers who were gamers themselves understood, hey, let's make games for gamers. Not like with our Sweet Baby Inc. and Black Girl Rock and all that asinine stupid stuff to inclusion the demo. We didn't need all that crap. We just wanted the games. That is it.
Same amount of time as the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X.
Look at that. All these good games.
That's pretty wild, right? You see, back then, every game was made solely for that generation of consoles without remakes, and you could forget about a PC port back then. I mean, that just wasn't a thing. Because during that time, Steam is just getting started, Blizzard makes like one game every decade, and Microsoft is pushing the insanely buggy games for Windows Live.
That is true.
But look, these games technically aren't telling you the full story. While most of these games are critically acclaimed, it's what they did for the industry that made the 7th generation so special. For example, Gears of War revolutionized third-person cover shooters, cooperative story, and the brown color palette that every game used for a lot longer than they should have. Wii Sports revolutionized motion controls made accessible for a brand new casual audience. Technically, because of the Wii, anyone could play games now. Rest in peace to all the TVs out there. And back then, Call of Duty actually revolutionized FPS controls, multiplayer progression, and 60 frames per second as a staple of competitive multiplayer.
50,000 people used to live here. Now it's a ghost town.
But what's more insane is that the publishers that absolutely dominated in the 7th generation have completely bombed in this generation.
Next generation gaming!
Warner Brothers was on top of the world with Batman and Shadow of Mordor, but then they released Suicide Squad, a game that nobody wanted.
How you feeling, Floyd?
Ready to kick your ass?
Nobody. Ubisoft dominates with Assassin's Creed, but then launches their quadruple A game Skull and Bones to crickets. Like, that game came out 2 months ago and no one's talking about it. It's already probably half off. Activision revolutionized multiplayer gaming with Call of Duty, a grounded military game, but now this is Call of Duty.
You could be the king, but watch the queen conquer.
Really?
Why is Nicki Minaj in Call of Duty?
Exactly. Why? What's that? What is that?
The war game.
Money!
Also, Microsoft, you know,
It is
the
about that.
single biggest video game publisher in the world right now. Well, they launched Redfall completely broken, Starfield completely empty, Lionhead Studios completely fired, laid off 4 more companies during the making of this video.
You what?
And released 3 buggy, incomplete Halo games in a row. And they all hurt. Every single one of them hurt me. Quite significantly. So here's the $1 million question, if not $1 billion. What the heck is happening with video games? Well, you see, the simple answer that gains a lot of social credit these days is making games is hard.
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 Now, using my
What the fuck?
Making games is not hard. And I'm not saying that making games is a double-edged sword, I'm going to say. It is hard, but it's not hard. We let publishers and gamers y'all sons of bitches that I've called out before in those if you saw my intro to this video, the smaller intro, I will talk about gamers that are half of the one third of the problem. Oh, we need updated graphics video. We are at the point where we can't do nothing mostly with graphics. I don't give a damn about graphics. Give me a good solid game. We need inclusion. I don't give a damn about inclusion. DEI, get the hell out of here. Just give me a good simple story. And if you want to do your transgender, gay LGBT, like I said, all the alphabet mafia soup, do your own game. Stop taking from other people's library. Do that, huh? You wanna be inclusive? Make your own shit. It's that easy. With that, you could probably make some money for the 1% of people who gives a damn about your thing. Most people don't. Take it out. The another part is you can't tell me it's hard when they got great games that I have on my Switch, some indie darlings that was created by 1, 2, 3, 10 people who made millions of dollars because they worked harder than games, and they're way better than the Call of Duties and all the stuff right now. It's because it's all about money, and the way that they do the money is idiotic and stupid. Xbox, as we've seen.
My personal experience in the software development field, I've been doing it for like 10 years. I can't argue that the process is difficult. But I can argue that these companies seem to have no idea what people actually want to play. And when we look at the games through that lens, we can start to see why we're getting so many remakes of games that were so successful before, so many live service Destiny or Fortnite clones, and why so many games are made for the previous generation with a higher install base first instead of the new consoles we spent $600 of our hard-earned Canadian money on. They weren't cheap, guys. Maybe we start building for them. Just throwing that out there. Now, it might be because I love video games or because I'm Canadian and thus genetically predisposed to helping people come back stronger. That's that Zenkai in me, baby. So video game companies, here's some feedback that I'll give you free of charge.
Of course, it will be that. Like I said, I only do this because I want to give the creator, since I'm using their stuff. In that regard, of course, you can't skip it. And yes, Sprite. I know I could just do a thing. I could do a blocker, but I don't do that.
Consoles. No one thought the Xbox One was going to make it 2 years, let alone 11. Just take it out back to the farm, make it look at the sunset, do what you need to do. We're all on the same page. No one's going to be there and going to be like,
no, please, no, not the Xbox One and PS4, no, I love them so much.
Bring them to the farm. You see, it's time to make games that people actually want. We're talking a non-live service Batman game, Assassin's Creed Black Flag 2, an actually good Halo game.
Fun. I like him.
Or just look at what's popular in the mod scene and you'll get a hit. It's actually surprising how little companies do this. I mean, it worked for Dota, it worked for Team Fortress 2, it worked for Battle Royale, it worked for Counter-Strike, and all the gaming companies are like, we should make a Fortnite or a Destiny clone. Suicide Squad. Why?
Money!
But unfortunately, the lack of next-generation games is just the first problem, because these consoles make playing games kind of difficult.
Yes.
Dude, how is my timing that bad? How?
The experience.
So let's say you get a brand new console. Here's a simple question for you. What should it do? It sounds simple enough, right? It should play video games, of course. But there's actually something else that I'm sure you'll remember after this. Now,
after that, what happened? The game starts and you play. Simple. That's what I missed back in the day. And even to the Nintendo Switch, don't get me wrong, I gotta play the power, go to the screen, do that stuff. I like just play, power, game, go, bam. PlayStation did it, Sony did it, Dreamcast did it, Xbox did it. Why was that a problem?
If you didn't play the GameCube, then that just didn't work. But if you did, it's just one example of the magical experience a console can actually give players. And in every one of your favorite consoles, you'll find a similar experience when you play it for the first time. But what about the Xbox Series X? Oh, it's just an Xbox One, but I guess it's faster now. 600 Canadian dollars faster, I guess. And I guess my $600 wasn't enough to cover the ads either. Now, in fairness, when you boot the PlayStation 5, Sony says, hold my beer.
I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it.
God, that was like every single PlayStation
Basically
merged into one super PlayStation, and I loved every second of it. But look what happens when I pop in an extremely expensive 90 Canadian dollar next generation physical game from this incredibly sad and empty plastic box into each console. Yeah, the game needs to install gigabytes of data or download larger and larger patches before you can even get a chance to play. So then you think to yourself, well, okay, I guess while I wait the mildly frustrating 30 minutes for this game to be ready, I can just, you know, play one of the digital games that I already own. But then you find out that when you do that, the network speeds of your consoles are dragged into the frozen depths of HE double hockey sticks. So then you think, fine, okay, all right, I'll just play another game today and take the hit on the network speed so I can play the new 90 Canadian dollar next generation physical game from this empty plastic box tomorrow. But then the game that you decide to play also has a 60 gig update because of course it does. So at this point, you're basically dead inside. But because you're desperate to play anything during the 2 hours of time you have left before you have to go to sleep to your corporate soul-sucking 9-to-5 job, you decide to play the most depressing game of Russian roulette to see which of the games you own doesn't need a 200 gig update until you almost assuredly give up and decide to watch someone else play games on YouTube or Twitch instead. And if that's your case, hello and welcome to the channel, okay? Now, at first glance, it seems like the console experience is objectively worse than those that came before, but if you're skeptical like I was, then don't worry because I decided to bust out my older consoles to put this to the test. So
Everyone deserves the fastest.
To the test it is because, and I might do a little video myself about this.
Xbox from over 20 years ago. The idea is simple. On the original Xbox, I'm going to try to play Halo Combat Evolved, a 20-year-old game. Then on the Series X, I'll try to play Halo Infinite to see which console lets me play the game first.
Seconds. 17 seconds. 1 minute 14
Well, that's
seconds.
depressing. But you might not be convinced, so I repeated this same exact test with the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 2. On the PS2, I'm going to play Ratchet & Clank Going Commando, and on the PlayStation 5, I'll try Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. So this test was really interesting because even with 4K graphics, Insomniac somehow loaded Ratchet on the PS5 in almost half the time. But unfortunately, what you don't know is both of these consoles needed their games to be pre-installed ahead of time just so they could compete. Now remember, each of these consoles is playing a game that's pushing their hardware to the limit, but only the previous generations actually let me play the games immediately, and I don't even want to imagine what would happen if these newer consoles weren't connected to the internet. Like, these things have way more power, they have way faster hard drive speeds, and yet I can just play games faster over there. Because, you see, in the 9th generation, the games are worse, the play experience is worse, and in the Xbox Series X's case, it barely tries to do anything to trigger any form of nostalgia. I mean, who's launching the Xbox Series X 10 years from now being like,
oh man, the Jurassic World Dominion ad on the front dashboard that I paid 600 Canadian dollars for, and a subscription to Game Pass and Xbox Live, that's when gaming truly peaked. Yeah. The nostalgia.
So, here's the question. If the modern gaming experience boils down to a list of games that are slightly better versions of the previous generation's games that constantly require downloading and or updating, then why not just play games on the PC where the games look and run so much better and I can actually do something else while I wait for my game to download? The truth is, most people wouldn't, which is exactly why we're seeing a dramatic surge in the popularity for PC gaming instead of console gaming that was traditionally always the place to play games first. But there's actually one more reason why people are moving to PC away from the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, and it has to do with the way that these consoles treat people.
That is true.
You see, when it comes to video game consoles, there's actually two different eras of communication. The offline era, where you actually had to visit your friends, hang out, bring over a giant CRT TV, and the online era, where you have friends lists, parties, and wonderful messages awaiting you.
Every single person who watches your videos are fucking stupid.
I'm actually nostalgic for it. But somehow the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 online community feels like an absolute ghost town where there's technically millions of people playing, but no one ever talks. Y'all feeling a good sense of community?
Bravo is off.
Taking these zones, look closer to your fellow man, fellow Spartan.
Your team.
I love it. So, let's go back to 2007 to see just what the heck happened. Okay, it's 2007 and for some reason we talk like this. Broken, weird, Canadian, British accent. But that's just what 2007 was like. So, you want to play Halo 3 with your friends and your 360 hasn't red ringed. What are you to do? Well, first you need a microphone to communicate, and thankfully Microsoft graciously includes a pretty decent quality mic for the time with your Xbox 360. That means that anyone and everyone who has a 360 can communicate online right out the gate. So how do we go about communicating?
Hi,
that's the part that's why Nintendo didn't want to be a part of that nonsense, and I'm with them for
this
that.
company with nothing to hide. Get unlimited 5G data powered by Verizon.
It needed to be that.
7. So communication software is, I'll be blunt, it's terrible. Skype is probably the best out there, but us Canadians, well, we were using MSN Messenger.
Yep.
Fortunately, we're in luck because sure, the communication software may have been total garbage.
Yeah. Skype in call.
But the software in these consoles were actually magnificent. You see, it had friends lists, a private party system that worked across any game, and like I mentioned before, some of the most wonderful voice messages you could have ever hoped for.
If I ever see you, I'm gonna fucking your face wide open, yeah?
Like I said, 2007 was a different time. But what about the
Yes,
game
it was.
itself? How did we communicate with the others? You see, by default, Halo and every other multiplayer game let anyone with a communicate openly.
We had balls back then. That's all I'll say.
Lobbies were active, parties were well indicated on screen with an icon, and proximity chat was always turned on by default.
You don't need communication.
That's how you win.
Push.
You don't need
Just
communication.
push.
Mind-blowing, I know. Every single person you played with could be spoken to just like if we were playing sports in person. It was truly a community. But now let us forward back to the present day to see what the new consoles can do. Okay, so it's 2024 and the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X have a few small differences. Despite being more expensive, the consoles no longer come with microphones.
Next generation gaming!
Sony technically provides one embedded in the controller itself, to be fair, but unless you play like a complete psychopath, it's probably not going to gain mass adoption. Isn't it great that we can just talk right through this controller's mic?
If I ever see you, I'm gonna
You don't do that.
No.
That's weird. Next comes the communication software, and it's pretty much the same as before. But while this sounds great on paper, it's actually pretty bad given that it's been over 15 years. You see, companies like Discord have streamlined the way players communicate,
True
and
that.
the consoles really.
And that's the thing. It came with when PlayStation when it was the Wii U, and I was bitching about it. That was the best thing to do. Just put your phone together and do the Discord, or just I don't know, take your phone and actually call somebody. Oh my God, Liger, what a concept. You have friends? What are these things, these friends you talk about? I know, right? God forbid. Shout out, Trip.
Really haven't tried to keep up. The only innovation I could think of was that the consoles did technically add Discord integration, but in fairness, using Discord on a PC or a phone still feels infinitely better than the watered down version we get on the Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5. Like, I just use my phone. Or you know what I'd probably do is I just go on the PC instead. But okay, what about the games? How are they handling communication 15 years later? Well, let's use Halo again as an example to showcase the 15 years of innovation. And the reason I use Halo is because, quite frankly, Halo 2 and Halo 3 were revolutionary for really promoting communication within games. Each of these games kind of pushed things forward. Proximity chat,
On the
pre and post game lobbies, that all kind of stemmed from the Halos.
He was like, dude, it's like 5 a.m. where you are, go to sleep, and I just replied with Halo 3.
It no longer has pre and post game lobbies and hasn't for over a decade. It no longer has proximity chat. It does, however, support text chat between console and PC crossplay.
Oh, that works good.
So that's cool. But they completely block all forms of written or spoken communication with the enemy team entirely. And unfortunately, every game seems to have seen that and decided that rather than figure out a system that works for different communication styles, yeah, it's just easier to block everything completely so no one gets hurt.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
It's as if you played a game of basketball outside, but no one was allowed to talk to each other, and the only way you could talk to your team was to stop, pick up your phone, and then text them before someone hits you in the face with a basketball. And that sounds like a weird analogy, but it's like legitimately true.
Yeah.
Sure, I guess technically no one has
MeUndies.
True, and that's not what it is.
a chance for harassment in that case.
What did you say, punk?
But it kind of loses a lot of the humanity in the process, don't you think? Look, I love video game consoles, their reveals, their launches, and what they do for the industry.
Some form of connectivity is called Xbox 360.
Right. So stick with 360, that's your message?
Each one defined a specific...
How did that age? That did not age nowhere good. Horrible, Dalmatric, you moron.
No, son of a bitch!
Part of my life, and I'm pretty sure it did for you guys too. But the honest truth is that the 9th generation consoles are just overpriced, poor gaming experiences where the games are held back by less capable machines, corporate greed, and a censored online environment in a world where if I spend a couple extra $100, I get all of that and more on a PC. The market is basically being forced to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid if these problems continue, video game consoles we know and love will die slowly in a wasteland as nothing but a memory.
Yeah.
Except, I don't think they have to. Because the magic of what made video game consoles so special to everyone never truly left. It's always been there, just waiting for someone, anyone, to bring it back. To bring back games that aren't afraid to push the industry forward.
I am your shield. I am your sword.
To bring back experiences we'll never forget. And to put players first as a community anyone can play in.
Nope.
Am I here?
If you haven't left yet, I would advise that you sprint.
Xbox 360! For the PlayStation 2.
Too bad. I have to say, those days are gone. To be honest with you, those are the good
It's
days.
just one big social gathering, uniting people all over the world.
Yeah,
Love of
but it's
games.
gone. It's gone. get what you're saying, my boy, but it's gone. That's not. That's one.
Are you excited? I am now. Like I wasn't before, but like seeing this.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed the video. You're beautiful, you're goose-tastic, and as always, keep it cute.
Hey. I won't keep it cute, but I'll say my video to his video, and what I'm saying is this. Yeah. Those days are gone. Sadly, those days are gone. So yeah, it's what it is. But great video, and that's what I want to acknowledge about the ninth generation. Eighth generation was not as good as I said before. I love my Wii U. I played the hell out of my Wii U. My Wii U still play games. I love it. That right there, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It sucks. It just generally sucks, the games. But it is what it is. Oh well. This is your boy Ligo. What have endure. Peace out. Again, check out for the next episode of this documented generation, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Remember, there's no perfect games out there. What's perfect to you is not perfect to me. What's perfect to me is not perfect to you. Simply enjoy games on all consoles, including PC. Peace out.